on behalf of the Institute for Leadership and Strategic Foresight. Welcome to So You Want to Be the Chief, a podcast for leaders.
Well, I'm honored, as always, to have a new person on the show today. I don't know that we've ever met in person, but we know each other electronically with ones and zeros. He is Chief Master Sergeant retired Manny Martinez, who I really am honored, Manny, to get to know you a little bit. Not as much as I'd like, but I'm not going to where you live. You live like in what is it, the Northwest or something like that, and I'm from the Southwest, and I don't even know what you call Colorado, but it's not up there. So, welcome to the show, and good to see you.
Thank you, Bob. I'm wishing I was down in your area because now it's going to be 6 months of rain, and we've
Oh,
had 2 weeks of rain. So I get it.
yeah, yeah. Well,
It
we
is
had
beautiful in the Pacific Northwest, and the summer is just green and gorgeous.
yeah. Well, we and it's almost funny, but I was stationed at Fairchild in Washington State some years back, and we thought, and everybody else thought that that would be like Seattle and that, a lot of trees and wet and all that kind of stuff. In fact, as we're driving eastward from Seattle, my oldest daughter says, Dad, we took the wrong turn. And I said, what do you mean? She says, we're back in the desert. Yeah, and that's what Spokane is, in the middle of the desert, I guess high desert, but a little bit
Mhm.
different. But although there was a very, very exciting time those 2 years that we were there. But anyway, good to see you. And how long did you serve in the Air Force before you punched?
Well, first, thank you for having me on the show.
You're
Pleasure to
welcome.
be here with you, Bob. 29 years, 9 months, and 29 days.
So you missed cheese pay by a month. What happened? I
No,
mean,
no,
you
no,
could have just
I
expanded.
get, no, I get the high three on Chief. I got that
Okay.
pay
Okay.
piece squared away. But it was the difference between going on terminal leave in the summer or terminal leave in the winter. And
Okay.
I wanted to have terminal leave in the summer so I could go on vacation with my family, the people whom really we should thank for their service,
Indeed.
and take a little bit of a sabbatical in good weather. So,
Okay.
most, like I mean, it was really 30 years of work when it all boils down, right? So 30
Right.
years of work. And I'm thinking, I need a vacation.
Yeah.
I deserve a vacation. If there's one thing I deserve is a break. And I
Yeah.
said, I want to take a year off. My wife said, you're taking 2 months off. And we negotiated 6 months.
Okay. She just didn't want you around the house that much and that long, huh?
No, and quickly we found out why. Because as a military person, I ran the house with efficiency. My wife was still going to work, and I'm on my 6 month sabbatical. And she'd come home, and all the laundry was washed, folded, and put away. All the dishes were clean and put away. Everything was just exactly in inspection order. And she fired me from doing the dishwasher. She fired me from doing the laundry because it was military efficiency going on. And
Right.
I got it. I'm like, okay, I get it. So
Yeah.
instead I went and hung out for a few months, doing some volunteer work at a local food bank before I started doing my leadership coaching that I'm doing right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Which is doing what you're doing right now. What is it? Give a little bit of a pitch for your company that you're working with.
Sure. I am with Crestcom, and Crestcom International is a company that's been in this business of leadership and management training for 35 years. Most managers become managers the way they become parents. One day they find out they are one, and then they don't
Yeah.
have a clue as to what they're doing. I mean,
Right.
we remember that, right? In the military, we did a great job of preparing people to be leaders before they step into the job. We sent them to PME, professional military education, and then they got into the job. Well, in the outside world, it's the opposite. We promote them based on they're good at their technical skills, and then they get into a managerial position and they don't give them the skills and
Yeah.
they struggle. They're good people and they struggle. So my job is I work with clients to get those managers and leadership the toolkit to become those great leaders. And I do that every single month. I have groups from different organizations that come together and they learn how to better communicate, how to problem solve, how to make good decisions, how to be accountable, how to show accountability, kind of the walking the walk, the talking the talk that we love to see in the people when we were in the service,
Yeah.
people who model that behavior and all kinds of wonderful things. it's interesting because a lot of the things that I learned in the military, I can impart through my program because I have a lot of personal examples. And then in some ways, I wish I had some of this stuff when I was in the military. I would have
Right.
been a better communicator instead of just, shut up in color, get it done my way, which, we faced some of that too. We learned a little bit better. Sometimes that's not the best approach to do things.
Right.
Nevertheless, here's the best part, Bob, of doing this on the outside. Nobody walks away or runs away when a retiree tells war stories in my classes because nobody's
Right.
in the military.
Yeah.
It's nice. I can tell war stories and they
Yeah.
sound fresh and they like
Yep.
them.
Yep. Well, I've often said this, Manny, that we're always better at what we used to do when we're not doing it anymore. Because we have that perspective that like you say, I wish I had known that. I wish I had done that. I've written a bunch of books since I retired from the Air Force, and even from the Air Force Academy, because I can go I have a lot of retrospect. I
Yeah.
wish I had done it this way. And I always tell people in my books that if I don't do it in every book, I try to tell people that this is not prescriptive. This is descriptive. It's about
Yeah.
how it happened with me or someone else's stories or
Sure.
whatever.
Sure.
And
Sure.
it may work for you, it may not work for you, but I wish I had had somebody to tell me, or, and it's always, what is it, 2020? Hindsight, right? It's 2020
Yeah.
because of you have the retrospective
That's right.
that you didn't have to begin with. So, which is why
Yeah.
I'm doing this podcast, and I'm asking you, you old farts, when did you retire?
2018.
2018. Okay, so it's not you're not that old.
I'm not
Uh,
that old, but I came in at the edge of the brown shoes retiring.
okay, well, and you know, I was like in the middle. I was, I guess, tan shoes or so. But I had some great mentors, man. Like you say, and it's a longer story that I'm going to tell you, but under because of circumstances, I ended up at Maxwell, and I got
Right.
trained to and as an E8, and I got trained by the best chiefs in the world because that was, still is, I guess, the enlisted PME Mecca. And
Yeah.
these gentlemen and ladies and gentlemen took me by the scruff of my neck and said, "You're going to do this. You're going to do this. You got to." And many times, man, there was a lot of screaming. No, I ain't. Yes, you are, and I did.
Sure.
And I'm glad I did. I'm glad they forced me to because I would not have been as effective as I was.
Right.
And
Right.
and again, now I probably would be more effective because I know a lot of stuff, a lot more than I did
Yeah.
22 years ago when I retired. But anyway, what do you think in your perspective and even in your dealings with leaders, particularly chiefs, because that's what we're talking about?
Sure.
What do
Sure.
they need? What are they missing, if there's anything that they're missing, to be an effective leader?
Yeah. Thanks, Bob. Let's talk about what I remember seeing as what was effective. And then people in retrospect can go, is that something that I'm doing or something that I'm missing? So that, I kind of like that approach. Uh, so I joined the Air Force on December 2nd, 1988. Okay.
Wow.
So this perspective, Ronald Reagan was getting ready to leave the office. George H.W. Bush was already, selected as president. SAC, Strategic Air Command, was my first major command. So just to give you some perspective as to my timeline, the first senior enlisted advisor before we had command chiefs, you might remember that, when I got to Grand Forks Air Force Base in March of 1989 after technical school, was Chief Reed. Now, why would I remember the name of my first senior enlisted advisor? Well, because he would remember my name. So here is a gentleman who had over 5,000 people on a base, but once in a while would walk right into my office. I was in personnel back then, the Consolidated Base Personnel Office, CBPO. And he would walk into my office, and there I was, slick sleeve or one striper, and say, "Hi, Manny, how are you?" And I'm thinking, Manny is not on my name tag. And how important that was, that here you are, someone who we think, wow, they're this, powerful authority, could be so humble to step right in front of my desk and talk to me, call me by my name. And often we don't take the time to get to know our people better. And I get it. We're busy. We got a lot of things that we got going on. yes, we have, very important roles to fill, when we're chiefs or senior enlisted leaders or whatever role you fill, how important it is to get to know your people better. And he knew my name. And I thought that was wonderful. And I took that because throughout my career, that's what I wanted to do. I need to get to know my people better. I need to walk into an office or walk into a shop and say, I have no agenda today, but just to get to know you a little bit better.
And and as and I think you'll agree, at least 95% of leaders know that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 99, maybe 100% of leaders know that. But to know and not to do is not to know. I remember when I first, because I was a senior enlisted advisor at Fairchild, and Dave Campanelli is the one that put me in that position,
Yeah.
and he said, and that was before we had stars and all that crap on your on our
Yeah.
stripes.
Yeah.
He said the what you need to do is get a map of the base that's got all the buildings in it, and work into your schedule that you go to each building,
Yeah.
to talk to people. Just talk to people. You are really about listening, not so much talking. To
Right.
listen to the people,
Exactly.
to what they're saying and what they're going to tell you about what's happening and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then when you finish making your rounds all the way around the base, start again. And I did that, and that was the best advice I got because I think I learned most, and I was able to affect things by telling my boss what I learned at 2 o'clock in the morning. And those, especially the back shops, the age
Yeah.
shops and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They loved that. Here's the senior enlisted advisor coming to say hello, and I didn't do
Yeah.
much other than, and I didn't drink coffee at the time, so I just had a Coke with them and tell me what's going on. And it's
Yeah.
amazing what I learned. That even the colonels didn't know, because we'd have those staff meetings, and I say, Colonel, do you know that you're no, where'd you learn that, Chief? Well, your troops told me that this morning at 2 o'clock this morning. So, but we all, so anyway, my advice, and I'll shut up and let you advise us, but my advice is put it on your calendar. Whether
Yeah.
you're in the military, it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter. As a family.
Yeah.
And I think you have what, two children?
I do. Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you don't make
Yeah.
time for them, in fact, after we're done here, I'm going to go ahead and spend some time with my daughter. She's 42,
Yeah.
and you'd say, well, she's an adult. She doesn't need. No, I need to make time with her, and the other one lives too far away. So, but
Right on.
but if you don't make time, if you don't put it in your calendar, you
Yeah.
ain't gonna do it. Something's gonna
Right.
come up. It always pops up, whatever it is.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And I did that exactly the same way you're talking about because I, this is Manny Martinez, and I'm a morning person. I could not get the day started until I got in front of a couple of people in the morning and just checked in on them at different random places, and then I could go into my email and just get lost in that world. But yes, the walking to different areas and different buildings. I'd walk the 5 minutes to go and see the folks down at the dining facility. Chief, you walked all the way over here. It's a 5 minute walk. It's a beautiful day, but you came all the way over here just to see us. Yes. Okay. Oh, you're loading things into the refrigerator. Let me give you a hand as we're putting cases of, frozen chicken in there. I mean, is that your main role and responsibility? No, it's not, but it's a huge responsibility to know your people. And often we just forget. We know it, but we don't take action. I love how you said it. And just a little more about that. There was a gentleman I remember in senior airman, worked in CE. He was in the plumbing, shop, and he told me something at Acid Chief that again reinforced that. He said, "You know what? Once in a while here on base, we get, the 4-star general shows up, or or the command, right, the command folks come into town." And I know that when that general steps off the plane, the first thing he or she says is not, "Show me your plumbers." And
Yeah.
it stuck with me. I mean, it stuck with me. I was like, yeah, exactly. Exactly the point. Are you looking out for the people who maybe don't necessarily know how they're connected to the mission? And then our presence helps them to be reminded as to how important they are.
And
Um,
what I think you're doing when you're doing that, Manny, is showing them that you care.
mhm,
Again, and I know you've had this experience plenty of times as well.
yeah,
I talk to leaders who say, "Of course I care." Well, if you don't show me, you don't. or you're
That's right.
showing me that you care about something else because you're
Yep.
not there. In my building trust workshop, I always tell people your values are always in your hands. You're going to do
Yeah.
what's most important to you at the moment.
Yeah.
That's always going to happen. And if you can say, you can send emails and all whatever you want. I really care about you guys. Again, where are you, boss? If you're
Yeah.
not here, that
Presence.
means you don't care because you're not even
Yeah.
seeing what I'm trying to
Yeah.
express to you. And even I'm a wordsmith because I'm a writer, an author, but those words often cannot express what you can see. And
Hmm.
it's like you say, the
That's
boss,
right.
the four-star shows up, and what do? We paint the grass green and the rocks white and all that so that it looks pristine. Well, that's really not what he or she's going to want to see. He or she wants to see the problems. And if you haven't been down there, you won't know where to take them. Look, this really sucks, and we need money for this, or we need
Right.
resources for this, whatever it is. That's where you
Yeah.
care and you show
That's
it.
right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And you got to keep, beating that drum of here are our problems and our issues, and this is why they need to be resolved until people get tired of you hearing it, and you got to keep doing it again. And that takes courage, that takes persistence, and quite frankly, when you're in the position of a chief, people expect it of you. And if you're not giving that because you're not showing up, you're not giving the presence, then you're not being effective. Then, and maybe somebody else can do it better,
Yeah. Yeah.
because that's your job. I mean, once
Right.
in a while you got to piss somebody off. And I was not the person that was known for cuss words. I was the chief that never cussed because I wanted to come across differently. I didn't want to come across as just, you know, oh, like any other person. No, no, no. It's like when I walk in, I want you to know there's something different about me.
Yeah.
I didn't get angry in front of people. And then when I did get upset and angry, people noticed. When I was sitting in a staff meeting, and this is funny, Bob. I was sitting in a staff meeting. It was our group staff meeting, and the commanders are there, and the chiefs are there, and the first sergeants are there, and the one of my commanders from another fellow squadron, mission support group squadron, started bad mouthing something that I disagreed with. And so I, presented my counter argument. He still, dug in, and everybody in the room knew he was out of line, right, in his position. And what I did after he dug in some more, I just gave him a stare.
El ojo.
From the time, yeah, see, lo mire. I looked at him, de arriba y abajo, right? I looked him up and down. After that staff meeting, it was about a 5-minute walk for me to get back. I said we were all in this big building, walk to the other building. Wouldn't you know it, the front office already knew that I had gotten angry.
Mhm.
And so that must be something that's really important to you, Chief, if people saw you in public getting angry about something. Because if that's your demeanor all the time, that you're wearing big boots, and I got this big grandiose, blah, 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 then again, you're not leading, you know.
Yeah.
So how important that is to you you have a role and responsibility that's very unique. And it's an honor and a privilege. Treat it that way. Don't what's what I'm looking for? You know, don't walk into that space as a chief, as it's all about me and about my role and my position that earned it in the service. No, 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 not at all. You've been given an honor. You've been given a privilege. Walk in through that. There are tons of people that could have been chosen to be chief, but somehow in that 1% bracket, you were chosen. Somebody else can maybe even do a better job. I knew senior master sergeants, E8s, that could have done a better job as a chief, maybe that I could, but yet I was chosen. Okay, so how can I walk with humility and do my best job?
Yeah. And one of the things that I learned again at Maxwell, and every time I tell this story a lot, I probably said it a bunch on this program, but one of the crusty old chiefs that took me aside when I first made chief was, and it's funny because I don't know if he had a first name. His first name was Chief Gwaltney, because people have, what was his first? I have no idea. It was Chief Gwaltney. But anyway, he took me aside and he said, Bob, if you're going to be a chief, you got to be willing to get your butt chewed at least once a week. And at first, Manny, I didn't understand because I was brand new chief. I had no idea. Eventually, I learned because
Yeah.
I worked for some bosses that were pretty tough, but I had to go in there and not so much correct them, but guide them a little bit. Tell boss, if
Yeah.
you do this, this is what's going to happen, and I'm going to go when I walk out this office. I'm going to go with you, but I want you to know that this is what's going to happen uh, based on your decision. And especially with one particular boss, one star that I worked, it was tough to do that because he didn't want to hear it. He wanted a yes man, and I was not a
Yeah.
yes man. I couldn't be. That's not a chief's
Yeah.
responsibility. That's not a leader's
Right.
responsibility. You go in and tell the boss the truth, whether he or she likes it or not, and then you go
Yeah.
with whatever.
Right.
But I
Right.
don't know, based on what I hear from the youngsters, Manny, I think we're losing that, or some of the chiefs are not doing that anymore. It's not about the parking space or
Yeah.
the nice office or the assistant or anything. I never had an assistant. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's about doing what you have to do to take care of those folks below you.
Right.
They're not below in a negative sense. The ones that you're either leading or working with or for.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, I mean, I left in 2018, so maybe still kind of the newer generation, right? So my, so the people who would have been my uh, senior NCOs are now becoming chiefs, right? So, kind of that same mold. So, um, I think there's still that either we're just really ate up or we're just completely softy, and we still struggle with the balancing act. There are moments where you have to be tough and strong, and push back and poke holes in the ideas, and tell the truth, and be clear. And then there's moments where we have to be humble about what our role and responsibilities are. Because if we stay in those two extremes all the time, we're going to miss it, right? So we have to understand that, and I think the best chiefs knew that. The understanding of, like you said, you're going to get your budget once a week. Like when Chief Turner at Special Operations Command, when us Chief Selects went to the week-long charm school, the first thing he said was, "You think that you arrived at something? You've arrived at nothing." I was like, yeah. And every day, I mean, it seemed like every day I was like going in my office and going, boy, I learned something today. Like, oh, did I have that wrong? Oh, hold on a moment, you know? And when and I think if I'm gonna get a little on the sensitive side of things. Um, I think if you don't cry every now and then as a chief, you close the door and you cry because, of something that happened to one of your people that just moves you, you're probably not being a good chief. Because it's just sometimes some of the things that you experience in trying to take care of your folks can be really challenging and difficult, and really tug at your morals, your values, in the things that you stand for. Um, I'm not sure how all this got started, but the idea is that we have to understand that there are moments where we have to be tough and strong, and yes, this we have to know where those lines are. Good order and discipline, very important. And then we also have to balance that with sometimes the caring and compassion that's necessary. You need to show that.
Yeah.
You need to present that. I don't know how many retirement ceremonies I went to where, as my clock got closer to it, I would cry in them. But did I try to hold back the tears? Hell no. I made sure they saw it.
Yeah.
It's like, not because I was putting on a show, but you know what? This is really moving. This is really stirring. I want them to say, man, you know, Chief, actually doesn't mind showing feelings like that in public. Yes, I'm a human being like you. I'm not a robot. I'm not some superhero. I'm a person
Yeah.
just like you. Just happens that I've got 8 stripes. You have to, because I've made a lot more mistakes.
Now, and let me correct you because I'm the elder. Chiefs don't cry, but sometimes our eyeballs sweat. And been there, done that. And yeah, then we're getting close to our time here, Manny. But and as you say that, one thing in one place maybe for that is among us. The
Mhm.
network. It used to be, and again, I don't, based on some of the things that I hear, it's not as much as it used to be. But the Chiefs were pretty tight, especially I retired out of Ramstein.
Yeah,
I don't know how
yeah,
many, we had 100 and some Chiefs. These guys were the tightest people in the world, man. And you
yeah,
could always count on them if you needed something. And sometimes, and that's
right,
another thing that Dave Campanelli, Dave
yeah,
Campanelli told me is find someone that you can talk to. And that was
yes,
Jimmy Thies, Chief Master Sergeant retired Jimmy Thies, because
yeah,
there were times we had some stuff happening that I don't know what to do, and I was brand new. I don't know. I was 19 years a chief, and and all the other chiefs had been there for 100 years and all that stuff, and so it was tough sometimes. And I just called
yeah,
Jimmy,
yeah,
and we'd have these discussions and and sometimes the crying wasn't about sympathetic things. It was about being pissed off so much that that's
yeah,
all you could do is just let it out. And
yeah,
and Jimmy was always there for me. And again, I think we all need each other. We have similar, not the same, but similar experiences. So sometimes we just need someone to listen to us.
yeah,
And sometimes it's got to be another chief because it just gets it to that level. I can't, I don't want to yell at my followers. So let me yell at you.
yeah.
Okay, close the door. Let's do this.
Yeah, that's so valuable. Thanks for bringing that up. And yes, that is so important because you're it, right? Usually in a unit, there's only, one chief usually in most units, and it's you. Who are you going to vent to?
Yep.
Who are you going to go? I got something that I got to bounce off of somebody because I'm not sure exactly which way to go.
Right.
And the Chiefs network is invaluable to that. And yeah, definitely called on them. And the other side too. Like if a chief pissed me off,
Right. Yeah.
they were going to get it, right? They were going to
Yeah.
get it. And again, I surprised a couple of them because they were like, "Oh man, he's so easygoing and kind and something like yeah." But I know what the rules are. I know what the game is.
Right.
I know how to play it, and so I can confidently walk in and go, "Dude, those things you said in front of our commander, our group commander, those were disrespectful things."
Right.
And that's why I'm talking to you now, right?
Yeah.
And
And
let's
you
set
mentioned humility. We all have to have the humility to accept that.
hmm
You know what? And in those discussions that I had like that, Manny, most of the time that other person just didn't realize that. Oh,
That's
oh
right.
man, I
Yeah,
didn't mean to do that. Did
yeah,
I come off that way? Oh
yeah.
man, let me go apologize because I didn't mean to. But
hmm
somebody had to tell you, or else you're
That's
gonna
right.
keep doing it.
And that's what wingmen do, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That's what wingmen do. We kind of pull over to the side and go, "Hey, check this out." And remember, were you in the '90s where we had the new service dress, and then we went through all the iterations about the insignia. Remember the
right,
insignia changes
yeah,
we had? We had the little circle, then we don't, then we got it
right.
again. I wrote this down before our episode here. This command chief would go to these ceremonies and he'd have a whole bunch of those insignias in his pocket. So then that way, when somebody showed up with the wrong one, because we were all kind of flopping back and forth, he would just pull over and go, "Hey, you know what? I get it. There've been a lot of changes. I just ask that you do the same thing for someone else." I'm
Yep,
like, dude, that's so spot on.
right.
Instead of like, it's the wrong thing. Right.
Yeah, right.
Like it's like, yeah, it's obvious.
Yep,
You know, let's help that person out. Just put them to the side, help them out a little bit, and then send them off. Right.
yeah,
And that's just so powerful. And that stuff sticks with you. I was a staff sergeant when I saw that.
yeah.
That's just sticks with you.
Well, good leaders either hurt, well, a person who is considered a leader either helps or hurts. And
Mhm.
if you're hurting, you're not the leader. You're maybe
Yeah.
maybe a manager, maybe you're just there. But we should all be willing to help each other as best we can, which
Yeah.
I appreciate you helping me out on this program, Manny, because a lot of cool perspectives. And now I'm hoping because you're on air and I've got this captured that you will invite me to come hang out with you sometime. Like I said, I don't know that part of the world very much other than being a good Fairchild, and that was not that part of the world. So I'm hoping that you'll say, "Yeah, man, come in 3 weeks, come on over and we'll hang out." I'm
Uh,
waiting. I'm waiting,
yeah.
Manny. I'm
So,
waiting.
Bob, anytime you want to come to
Ah,
the
not
Seattle
anytime, man.
area,
What is that? An open invitation is not an invitation at all, man.
so bring your rain gear
Oh yeah, okay.
if you want to hang out in the winter, or you're open to come and hang out with me in the summer.
Yeah, yeah. Well, during the winter, that rain might make my hair all fuzzy and everything. So I probably don't want to do that.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
It's low water pressure too.
Brother, thank you so much for taking the time to be with me today. God bless you and all that you're doing, and take care of those little ones. I can't remember, they're like teenagers, right? Your little ones.
25 and 19, but there'll always be babies in our eyes, right?
They always will be, man. And I'll tell you what, it doesn't get better.
They don't get cheaper.
No, 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 man. It's amazing. But anyway, thank you. God bless you, and we'll see you again.
Likewise, Bob.